The Wilhelm Scream by James Blake is the track we're doing in episode 4. This one's especially cool to get into because this is a song that James Blake's dad actually wrote. So this is a cover of Where to Turn by James Litherland. Apparently James had heard his dad playing it all around the house when he was a kid, and when he was putting together his first LP as a singer, transitioning out of being a dubstep producer, I guess he found himself singing it. Especially cool also because it's self-mixed. The song was mastered by Colton, and we'll get into what it means to be self-mixing your music as an extension of your artistry, because that's changed with time with James' career. Immediately, I noticed that the instrumental feels unusual as soon as you hit play. You've got this really quiet, mono, dry, saw synth patch and some really static electronic drums in the mix. And then you're introduced to the vocals, which are in contrast very wide and wet and human and emotive. The effect on the vocals is what's called a haas effect. So I don't know if he's done it with 2 takes. It sounds like he's just duplicated the same, but essentially you duplicate the vocal, put one in the right ear and one in the left, and you put a slight delay on one of them, and it sounds like this super wide double vocal, essentially, which is a really cool effect that continues throughout the entirety of the track. So the instrumental starts super dry, but it builds. You start to get introduced to these loud, very long tail reverb snares. You then get, later in the song, some cowbells in your right ear with a different kind of reverb. And the song keeps playing with this sense of space throughout the track, creating a really interesting and immersive listen. You know, you've got some really dry, immediate snares, and then you've got these ones that just feel like they're echoing out into eternity, so loud and so huge. The emotive impact of that is something that's kind of hard to articulate, but I think with James Blake's audience kind of being audiophiles and music nerds, it's created a really interesting listen. Touching on the point of the vocals before, this song has a pretty huge stereo field, and I think it feels huge because it starts from almost nothing, right? Like when we're introduced to this song, it's this really contained, center, quiet, static instrumental, and as you get introduced to these atmospheric, varying sense of space snares and cowbells and little synths, the song just opens up. The crescendo of the song at about the 2 or 3 minute mark just is this like wall of sound. Now that all of these sounds have been introduced, there's just this muddy, rumbling, atmospheric mush of sound. And it's so immersive and so hard to discern what's actually going on. And I think this is a good point to touch on how self-mixing is an extension of artistry. Perhaps if this was sent to a different engineer, these sections and sounds would have been cleaned up or placed in a more natural state. But everything about the mixing of this record feels subversive and different. And this song sounds the way it sounds because James Blake mixed it himself. This is an unconventional approach to mixing, and from the perspective of a new artist trying to get listeners to find something unique and interesting about you, making this song sound so original and so different in not just the production and the writing, but the mixing in particular, I think is such a key facet to building an audience and a sound and a brand as a new artist. So muddy or weird or not, this song needed to sound the way it sounds, and I think it's all the more incredible for it. So it's been incredible to see James Blake develop as an artist, but there's something particularly special about his early days, and it's been a pleasure getting into the Wilhelm Scream by James Blake.